Entry requirements at Tilburg, submitting the application, funding opportunities for students, and all the steps that you need to undertake in order to become a student. So in case that you decide to submit your application, you haven't had an interview during today's event, please make sure that you contact your counselor. You have the phone numbers displayed in the slide and the website, so that you can start working on the application. I'm sure Anka will reinforce this. The deadline for undergraduate programs at Tilburg University is the 1st of May. So whoever is interested for bachelor programs needs to step up with their application. I will let you enjoy the presentation. Anka.
Thank you for
Anka, you have the floor.
Thank you for introducing me, and thank you for having me today, and thank you to all of you for attending this session today. My name is Anka Costa, and I'm a part of the international team of Tilburg University. I work for the recruitment department of the university. I'm also a graduate of Tilburg University, originally from Romania. I graduated my master's degree here in 2017. And during the presentation today, I'm going to aim to finish my, let's say, theoretical part in no more than 30 minutes, so that we can have at least half an hour to discuss your questions. I'm not sure how many of you already looked into the Tilburg University and what it has to offer. I expect that many of you, so let's just take today to ask your questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them all. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. And let's begin. Bianca, please let me know in case there's any problem with the slides, but I think that should be fine. How do I? Okay.
It's all good. Looking good.
Thank you. So the structure of the presentation today is quite straightforward. We're going to talk a bit about the Netherlands in general and what it has to offer when it comes to bachelor's and master's programs taught in English. We're also going to discuss some important aspects about Tilburg University in general. Oh, I think I must be doing. I think somebody's drawing on the slides. I'm not sure whether that's. Well, that's okay, as long as we still keep the content visible. After Tilburg University general details, we're going to talk about the programs that it offers, both on a bachelor's and on a master's level. We're of course going to discuss questions about admission, applications, some financial matters as well. And we're going to wrap it up with the Q&A sessions. If you have any questions during this presentation, please post them in the chat, and then we're going to approach them at the end. However, what you should know is that the way that we structured this presentation is that so it answers generally the most important questions that students do ask us during the event. So there might be the case where you ask a question, but actually it's going to be shared in the next slides. And just for the sake of the way that we conduct this session today, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm going to only share my presentation because there are lots of information there, which is shared. Right. Okay. Now this should be the way to go. Hopefully. Okay. Let's begin. I'm wondering if I can stop these notifications. I apologize for this. So why do students generally decide upon the Netherlands as their study destination? I'm going to begin with the high number and wide variety of English taught programs. So within research universities and applied science university, you can find more than 2,000 English taught programs. And whenever you are talking about an English taught program, that means that the entire academic experience will be taught in English. So you don't have to worry about speaking Dutch. I've been living in the Netherlands for about 5 years now, and I can attest that I haven't found a single person that doesn't speak Dutch, actually. So this is the country with one of the highest levels of English for a non-native English speaking country. So there's really no language barrier there. You will notice that some universities do offer Dutch classes for those of you who would like to learn it, but what's important to remember is that you will not need to speak Dutch in order to study or to get integrated into the Dutch society here. So as long as you are fluent in English, that covers both your academic and your social experience. course, there's a good value for money, which is worth to be mentioned. The tuition fees in the Netherlands, especially for European Union nationals, and I'm talking now, of course, to Romanians and Greek students which are present here today. The Dutch government will subsidize most part of your tuition fee. So that's a good advantage as well. And we're going to talk about the prices, of course, a bit later on. It's also one of the best EU countries for business. And I'm not only talking about the academic part of business, so business studies, but also in terms of the entrepreneurial chances that you get here. And also when it comes to working for a business development company as well. There's a highly educated multilingual workforce. The Netherlands is a very welcoming space for internationals in general. And there's a great diversity of nationalities and cultural backgrounds in the Netherlands. And again, I can attest that myself because I've been living here. And slowly I did get integrated into the Dutch society well enough so that I can consider this home, a second home, if I may put it this way. Another maybe quality assurance factor is the quality of education. So all Dutch research universities, that includes Tilburg University, are ranked as top 250 best universities in the world by Times Higher Education, which also means that you will study in the top 2% best universities in the world. I'm wondering from my colleagues from Integral whether you can stop my my host feature so that we can stop the notifications and the students can see the slides. I'm wondering if that's possible, because then I won't see the people that I need to admit, if that's possible. If not, that's also fine, just for the clarity of the presentation. And maybe a last point to mention there is that the Netherlands is one of the safest countries in the world and one of the happiest countries in the world too, which I'm sure brings some peace of mind to those of you there who are maybe 17, 18, and you're thinking about moving to a different country. I'm sure that there are lots of factors that you can take into consideration, and safety, of course, is one of them. For those who are interested in studying in the Netherlands in general, and if you talk to our colleagues from Integral, I'm sure that you came across this difference between research universities and University of Applied Sciences. And if you're going to keep looking into the educational offer of the Netherlands in general, you are going to come across this difference. So briefly, there are two types of universities in the Netherlands. You have the research universities, 13 in total. These are the classical traditional universities where general bachelor programs take 3 years to complete, with the exception, of course, of some bachelors such as medicine, which takes longer. And this has a traditional academic approach. So there are theoretical universities where there's a lot of focus placed on analytical skills. This is where you can study, for example, the traditional fields such as engineering or qualifying law degrees, or medicine, psychology, and so on. And the second type of university that you can find in the Netherlands is the University of Applied Sciences, which offers a professional, more vocational-oriented higher education. They generally offer 4 years bachelor's programs because in one of the years you have a mandatory internship, most likely. And again, they are more oriented towards preparing professionals for a specific job in the job market out there. So for those of you maybe who are interested in, for example, art studies that are more practically oriented, or nursing and so on, then this is the type of university that will be best suited for you. There are some fields which are overlapping the two types of universities. So for example, if you want to study business, you can find this field offered by both universities, but again, the difference is the academic approach on education. So University of Applied Sciences are more practical and more oriented towards the job market, whereas research universities are more academic oriented. That doesn't mean that within research universities, you won't be able to practice the skills that you learn. Of course, that's what all universities are about after all. However, it's not that much oriented towards the job market out there. About Tilburg University, this is a university located in the city of Tilburg, which is very close to the Belgian border, as you will see it on your screen. This is maybe a fun fact to share, is that this area was where Tilburg is located. So the circle that you will see on your screen between Tilburg, Den Bosch, and Eindhoven, which is called the Brainport area. This is known as the Silicon Valley of Europe, due to the highly technical universities that reside in this area, and social universities as well. But also that's fun, but also whoever is drawing on the screen. Also you will find here high-tech companies such as Tesla, for example, or Philips, just to offer you an instance. And this is the area in Europe with the highest number of patents filed every year, which is why it's called the Silicon Valley of Europe. It's very easy to travel around the Netherlands. Well, maybe not nowadays with the COVID-19 crisis, but generally from Tilburg to Amsterdam, you spend around 1 hour by train. From Amsterdam to London, it's a less than an hour flight. There are also lots of flights to Romania, very cheap flights, especially to Cluj or Timișoara from Eindhoven. I used to have friends that lived in Cluj or in Timișoara, and they used to go home for weekend even, if you can imagine, because they found these Wizz Air tickets with 25-30 euros, which is quite convenient. So it's very easy to travel in the Netherlands, but also within Europe as well from the Netherlands. Moving on, just a couple more details about Tilburg. It has about 200,000 inhabitants, out of which actually 28,000 are students. So it's a large student community here, because Tilburg University is not the only university that resides in Tilburg. You will also find Fontys University here, which is a university of applied sciences. So it's a very student-oriented city. So why do students generally decide to study at Tilburg University? And we're briefly going to touch upon a couple of the key points, which is the first one, the strong focus on global issues. This is what Tilburg University is about. Tilburg University is oriented towards society. So that means that regardless of the topic that you are going to study, you will always approach societal issues and you will try to find solutions for them. Of course, when you talk about societal issues and how to give back to society, you mostly think about, for example, social sciences programs such as international sociology. But that's not that. At Tilburg University, even if you study a very technical program such as data science, for example, which is a computer science program, you will still approach societal issues. And I'm going to give you concrete examples. For those of you who are familiar with the United Nations World Food Program, this is a program developed by the United Nations, the UN, which distributes food towards areas of the world which are affected by major societal issues or by political issues, areas such as Yemen or Syria. And a couple of years ago, the World Food Program challenged the data science department of Tilburg University to come up with an algorithm which will optimize the distribution of food towards these countries. And a couple of very good data science students of Tilburg University, together with some professors, developed this algorithm. And in just a couple of years, more than 20 million euros were saved for the World Food Program just by developing this algorithm that optimized the food chain distribution. And I offered this example just for you to understand the profile of the university and how even when you study a technical program or a business program, even you will approach these issues and try to find solutions for them. So it doesn't only apply to social sciences programs. All pictures that you will see in this presentation are from our campus. So Tilburg University has one of the few green compact campuses in the Netherlands. And by compact campus, I mean that everything is on one place. So you won't have to travel around the city in order to get to classes. All classrooms are on the same campus. The restaurants are there, the library is there, the gym is about 5 minutes walking from the university. The labs are at the same place. Restaurants where you can have food in between classes and so on, which is very convenient, of course, with being a student, because you don't have to travel around. There are lots of opportunities for extracurricular activities. So if you want to practice your skills during your studies, you can be part of a study association or a student association, which organize, depending per their profile, all sorts of both professional and social activities. So if you're a part of the law association, for example, then there are all sorts of field trips organized to Den Haag, to the International Criminal Court, or you can travel to Brussels. You can have moot courts. There are UN model organized on campus. If you're a part of a business program, then you're going to work for maybe innovation incubators, and so on. So lots of extracurricular activities that are available to you in case you want to use the extra time that you have towards your professional development. There's student counseling and support on place, so you're not alone. Even if you decide to travel to the Netherlands without any friends that would study at Tilburg University, you're going to be surrounded by hundreds of international students which are in the same shoes that you are, and there's support from the university as well. So there's a psychologist on campus in case you're having any issues with maybe the bad weather that you can expect in the Netherlands, or there's a student desk that can help you with your administration studies. There are mentorship programs in place. So let's say that you are a first-year psychology student and you're really struggling with the statistics exam, then you can ask the help from your mentors, which are generally older students that excel in a specific program course such as statistics, and they can help you with tutoring, of course, for free. So that it's not sort of a classical meditation. It's just older students helping your students. And there's a career center which organizes all sorts of professional events during the year for students very well connected to the working market out there, the professional market. The career center can also help you with creating your CV or building up your employee profile, and helping your chances, increasing your chances of getting hired after graduation. There's a language center, so each Tilburg University student gets 2 free language vouchers. That means that you can either learn Dutch for free, or French, or Spanish, or Arabic, Chinese if you want to, in case you want to improve your academic English. So let's say that you would like to study law and you feel that you want to be more proficient when it comes to the argumentative English, then you can take classes of advanced English, which are designed to help you improve your English. So just to briefly present a couple of points here. Now, when it comes to this international environment that I keep talking about, out of the 19,000 students that are enrolled this year at Tilburg University, almost 4,000 are international students, and these 3,700, to be more precise, international students are coming from more than 130 countries from all around the world. So a great diversity of like-minded, intelligent people that you will find here at Tilburg University, besides, of course, Dutch students. And let's just look at the 2 main categories here, because where we're talking today is Romanian and Greek students. So there's 5% Romanian students out of the international community. I would say that that's good enough. And I'm sure that the Greek population is also quite major. Yeah, there you go, also 5%. So you will find people that you will share a nationality with. However, I think that the beauty of being an international student is that you get to talk to people that are coming from completely different backgrounds than where you're from, which also helps with your development, not only academically, because of course that when you discuss specific issues in class, you get the perspective of a different person that comes from a completely different country. That helps the academic conversation, but also socially. And needless to say that, another advantage of being an international student is that you will have accommodation options all around the world, in case you, of course, make friends from all around the world. Also, your professors will be international. So more than 40% of our lecturers of Tilburg University are non-Dutch citizens. And especially for those of you who are interested in studying a bachelor, so an undergraduate program at Tilburg University, you should know that in your 3rd year, most of our programs have a mobility window. That means that you can go abroad and study for 1 semester at one of our partner universities. There are more than 150 partner universities. On your screen, you will see a couple of, let's say, the most popular ones, the most known ones. So all around Europe, but you can also study in Latin America. You can go to the United States, to Shanghai, for example, to Hong Kong. One of our partners is Copenhagen Business School in Copenhagen, which is in top 10 best business schools in the world, just like IE Business School in Madrid is. So lots of options for you there in case you would like to go and study abroad in your 3rd year. And there are some options for master's students as well. I'm not going to focus on rankings. This is just quality assurance. So you can take a look at the screen, or you can go on our website as well. Generally, we are highly ranked in the topics that we are specialized in. So, for example, Shanghai global rankings positions us as number 6 in the world in business administration. This is one of our strongest profiles, but we're also ranked as 28th in the world by Times Higher Education. For psychology as well, we are top 50 in the world. So there are lots of rankings that you can access. If you do have specific questions about rankings and accreditation in general, and needless to say, please post your questions in the chat and I can help you at the end. So let's get to our bachelor's programs. There's no way that we could talk in depth about all the programs that we offer, but I'm going to list them on the screen. And then if you want to go more in depth about it, we can do so during the Q&A. So mainly these are the programs that we offer in English for a bachelor's level. So we have the business programs, international business administration and entrepreneurship and business innovation. We also offer the only purely economics English taught program in the Netherlands offered by a research university, and that's our bachelor in economics, which does not have that, that business perspective. So it's purely economics. If you want to go more towards the technical side, we offer the program of cognitive science and artificial intelligence or data science, which is the most technical program that we do offer here at Tilburg University. And this is a program offered jointly with Eindhoven University of Technology. So it's a computer science closed program. And if you get accepted into this program, you would automatically become a student of both universities. For those of you who really love mathematics, there's the program of econometrics and operations research, which is based on mathematics, to put it this way, and a bit of data science and statistics as well. There's a law program, a transnational law program called Global Law. This is a unique program actually, because it's not a typical international law degree where you mostly look at different agreements between bodies of state or different countries in general or supranational organization. This actually delves into different legal systems around the world. For those who are passionate about writing, about globalization, about social media, then there's this Bachelor of Online Culture, Art, Media, and Society, a theology bachelor as well. And for those who would like to study social sciences, we offer 4 programs in that field, namely psychology, global management of social issues, international sociology, and human resource studies. The last one is a combination between social sciences, but you're also going to go into the perspective of the business, so not just a social science. And lastly, we offer a liberal arts and sciences degree offered by University College Tilburg. So especially for those of you who are not sure about what they want to do in the future, this is the type of program where in the first year you study multiple fields. And then starting the second year, you will decide upon your specialization. You can either specialize in business or in law or in cognitive neuroscience, humanities, and so on. Getting to the master's degree, there are more than 40 master's programs that we offer at Tilburg University in similar fields as the bachelor's one. So generally, you will spend about 1 year to finish your master's program. These are very niched programs. So they really focus on a specific niche of a field of law or business, for example. And there are some options to extend your master's, which I'm going to discuss about a bit later on. All of the masters that we are going to discuss today, needless to say, are taught in English. So again, you don't have to worry about speaking Dutch. And I'm going to briefly offer you some examples of the masters that we cover. Again, there are more than 40, so we cannot talk about all of them, but just a couple of examples. So we offer programs in the fields of business and management, such as accountancy, for example, or marketing analytics, if you want to go more towards the analytical part of it, marketing management, if you want to change the focus of marketing towards the business part, international management, supply chain management. So it really depends on what your interest is in your future career. If you want to go more towards more quantitative masters, so masters with a stronger focus of mathematics, then you have, for example, quantitative finance and actuarial sciences or econometrics and mathematical economics. We also offer masters in the fields of communication, digital sciences, culture, and philosophy. For example, business communication, digital media, or a more theoretical master such as philosophy of humanity and culture. Masters in the fields of law and public administration, and you will see all of them on your screen. Law and technology, one of the most popular masters that we offer at this moment. I'm wondering why, probably because it's 2021 and data protection, IP law in general are such hot topics at the moment. You can specialize in European law, you can specialize in business law. If you want to get more of a tax perspective, then there's the international business law and business tax law, so you get more taxation there. So again, it really depends on your interest. Our social and behavioral sciences, for most of these, you would need a social background. So for example, a psychology degree, and the programs are either economic psychology or sociology or human resource studies, if you want to, again, combine the organizational perspective as well. The data science and artificial intelligence masters, And I think that I'm going to showcase the data science and society one. So this is the only data science master's at Tilburg University, which is designed for people who don't have a technical background. So if you want to study any of the rest of the technical masters, then you would need a technical bachelor's degree, of course. But data science and society was designed for those who want to add data science and programming skills on top of those. So let's say that you finished a bachelor's degree in law in Romania, but you would like to get some technical experience as well. Then this is the type of program that you can opt for, because you don't need programming experience in order to be considered eligible. And there's a master in theology offered. Now, especially for those of you who will be choosing that masters in economics or finance or quantitative fields in general, there are lots of options to extend your masters. So you can add 6 more months to your masters doing a traineeship or a study abroad at one of our partner universities, or you can work with one of the Q10 partner companies that we work with, and for 6 months you're going to basically work for the company itself and build some professional experience there. Admission and application. How am I with time? Okay, I have 4 more minutes to meet my promise. I'll probably continue for just a couple more than that, but this is generally the overview. So for bachelor's programs, we accept most of the European Union diplomas. That includes the Romanian baccalaureate diploma in case it is obtained at a theoretical high school, and that's very important. And we also accept the national Greek diploma, which I'm afraid I cannot pronounce, but I can post it in the chat a bit later on. Now, in case you're studying at an international school and you're going to be obtaining an IB diploma, or if you're studying British A levels, or if you're studying an American school diploma, I'm not sure if it's that popular within this group, but you'll find the conditions on your screen, and of course that we can discuss them during the Q&A. Now, for all of these programs, you will need to prove your English proficiency test. So Tilburg English proficiency through an English proficiency test. Tilburg University accepts 3 language tests, and that is either academic IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge. And for those programs who have a mathematics component, you will need to have graduated from a specific high school. So let's just take the example of Romania. If you would like to study data science and econometrics, which again are very technical, math-oriented programs, then you need to have graduated from either științele naturii or mathematică informatică, which have the highest level of mathematics. If, for example, you want to study global law, then they won't about your math level, so you can study philology as well. If you want to study psychology, for example, then you need to prove that you have taken math classes up to your final year of high school. So maybe for those who are studying philology and would like to study psychology, your chances are a bit smaller to get accepted because you don't meet the math requirement, but it's not impossible to get accepted. And if you are accepted and you pass the exam, then you're going to need to pass a separate statistics course in the first semester of your studies. So that's pretty much about the math requirement. Skip this one. About the master's admission conditions, generally you would need a diploma, a bachelor's diploma that's relevant to the field that you want to study. So let's say that you want to study a master's in law, then you need degree in law. But let's say that you want to study a master's in economics, then you need a degree in economics or something related to economics. And the advantage, I think, of our website is that if you go to any of these programs, you will notice that each program has a application and admission webpage where you can find a number of minimum credits that you need in specific fields in order to be considered eligible. And of course, you can always ask our colleagues from Integral. We're very well aware of our educational offer and, needless to say, our admission conditions as well. Who would like to study any program from the Tilburg School of Economics and Management, so any program that's related to business, finance, or quantitative sciences in general, you need to pass either a GRE or GMAT test, and these are mandatory. I think the person that drew on the screen is very their piece of art stayed with us till the end of the session. Okay, how to submit an application. So there are 2 main steps that you have to follow in order to submit an application to Tilburg University. The first one is that you need to register in Studia Link. And whoever has their mic open, if you would like, I would kindly ask you to turn it off so that the students can properly hear the information that we're sharing. Thank you. Okay, so StudiaLink is the registration platform in the Netherlands. You are allowed to be registered for 4 programs at the same time. And the registration is free of charge. So you just have to create an account in StudiaLink, register for the program that you're interested in at Tilburg University, for instance, and then for Tilburg University, within 48 hours, you will receive your login details for our online application platform, which is Osiris. So that's how it goes in the Netherlands in general. First, you register in StudiaLink, and then you need to submit your application to the different universities that you are interested in. And as a first step, everything is done online. Of course, that you need to submit more documents. So your diploma is not going to be the only thing that's taken into consideration. So for some programs, and I'm talking about bachelors and masters both, you need to submit motivation letters or CVs, or for masters, especially for masters, you need recommendation letters. Your English proficiency test, you also need to submit maybe essays. So if you want to study online culture, art, media, and society, which is a program very much oriented towards writing skills as well, then you need to submit an essay. For master's programs, you need to submit maybe a summary of your bachelor's thesis. So it's always good to check the website and see the exact documents that you need for different programs, because each program has different requirements. So you need to make an informed decision in that regard. And when it comes to the deadlines that we have here at Tilburg University, May 1st is the deadline for most of our bachelor's programs. So for those of you who are still interested in starting your program in September 2021, then you still have until May 1st to submit an application. There's one exception, and that is psychology, for which there's a January 15 deadline, because this is a selective procedure. Oh, yeah, I realized what I've done. Yeah, sorry, Bianca, I will rectify that. Yeah, so this is a selective procedure, and therefore you have a 15th of January deadline. And for our master's programs for EU citizens, you have until July 1st to submit an application if you want to start in September, or until December 1st if you want to start in February, because generally there are 2 intakes for masters. And I would like to add a small correction there, together with my apologies. If you want to get information about the application procedure of Tilburg University, you can talk to our colleagues from EDMUNDO. They are our partners in Romania. The other company that I mentioned is another partner. So I apologize for that. Our colleagues from EDMUNDO, I've been talking a lot today. So our colleagues from EDMUNDO, which organize these events, and I'm sure that you already have their contact details, can help you with further information about that. Not about costs, of course, that this is an important topic. On your screen, you will see the general monthly cost that you can expect, and I can talk from my personal experience as well in that regard. So for accommodation, you can count on about 350 to 700 euros. Food, drinks, and transportation, that's about 300 euros per month. Of course, that if you can cook, that will save you a great deal of money, because eating in restaurants is quite expensive. Books and readers, about 75 euros per month, but not every month. This is just an average. And a medical insurance that's mandatory in the Netherlands. So you have to make sure that you are medically insured before you travel. And the visa fee does not apply to you, because if you're Romanians or Greeks, then you're European Union national, so that's not needed. A second-hand bicycle, which will cost about 70 euros, and a sport card, which is generally around 130 euros per year, and that will give you access to all the sport facilities of the Tilburg University Sports Center. Housing is another very important topic, regardless if you choose Tilburg University or not. In general, if you want to study in the Netherlands, then you should look for housing in time, because this is a quite of a difficult topic. So generally, international students struggle with finding accommodation in case you look for accommodation very late in the summer. But if you start summer in May, then you have more chances to find either rooms in dorms or just easier to find rooms on the private market out there. I'm not going to focus on this topic. You can take maybe a print screen of the slide, and this is the website where you can find more information about it. But then there's also a webinar that we're going to organize on May 7th, and it's a free registration webinar. So if you go, and it's about housing. So if you go to our website and you look for housing webinars, then you will see the dates and times where you can attend them, and you can register for free for them. And those are going to be sessions specifically oriented towards housing. I think that was pretty much my presentation. Again, apologies, our colleagues from EDMUNDO, Romania and Greece for the mistake there. And now we have almost half an hour to take your question here. So let me know what you're interested in. I can see that there are already questions in the chat. There are lots of questions in the chat. So maybe in case there are more popular questions that our colleagues from EDMUNDO summarized, please let me know. Otherwise, I can just scroll down through the list. Okay, I'm going to start with the first question. So a lot of master's programs in the Netherlands are usually one-year programs. I was wondering if you can apply to a PhD with a one-year master's. Yes, that's possible. Your master will be accredited and you can do a PhD afterwards. Generally, there are two options to do your PhD in the Netherlands. You can either be employed by the university, and therefore you would be a researcher, for example, for Tilburg University, or a student assistant, just as an example, or you can come with your own external scholarships in case you would like external funding. But generally, PhD students are also employees of the universities. I'm scrolling down to see. Which would you suggest for a psychology bachelor, research university, or one of the applied sciences? I'm not sure. I think I'm not sure whether you can find clinical and medical specializations throughout the University of Applied Sciences. Maybe our from EDMUNDO can advise you in that regard. But generally, psychology programs, academic psychology programs, are only offered by universities of research.
Yes, that is correct. So it's not so much about choosing when it comes to psychology and law. For example, I saw a question regarding law as well.
Yeah, and it's the same for law. So if you want to go towards qualifying law degrees, then those are offered by research universities. Do any universities offer a law bachelor that is fully in English? Yeah, that's the global law bachelor at Tilburg University is fully taught in English. You will only have to learn Dutch if you want to practice traditional law in the Netherlands. So in case you want to enter the bar of the Netherlands, then you will need to learn Dutch, because by year 3 you will need to take a minor in Dutch law. However, the rest of the program is completely taught in English. And if you don't want to take that minor in Dutch law, then English will be sufficient. And there are lots of programs actually taught in law. So I think, yeah, you can perhaps talk to EDMUNDO afterwards, but there are some good options out there in terms of English taught law degrees. About masters in the IT fields, we do offer some technical masters at Tilburg University. The one that's focused on IT is data science and entrepreneurship. That is actually a 2-year master's program. It's offered jointly with Eindhoven University of Technology. And it's a master's program that combines these two worlds. So programming classes, mathematics, and big data analysis in general, together with entrepreneurship, which is why it's 2 years and not just 1 year, because 1 year would not be sufficient to properly cover these two very different fields. How open is Tilburg University with students that are applying in the beginning of a gap year? So there isn't a criteria that will influence your eligibility if you're taking a gap year. It doesn't really matter when you finished your high school or your age in general. We don't have an age restriction. So if you've taken a gap year between your bachelor's and between your high school and your bachelor's, then it's possible to submit an application. And I'm now seeing feedback that I should have talked slower. I apologize for this. I think I got a bit carried away. So if any of the information that I've shared did not come across as clear, then please ask it in the chat.
Olga, sorry to interrupt you. One question that I've seen is quite recurrent is whether students need to have a good command of Dutch, not during the studies, but when it comes to employment after graduation in their specialty.
That's really a relevant question. It's not mandatory if you would like to work for an international company. So there are multinational companies that reside in the Netherlands, such as Philips or Netflix, for example, again, Tesla, Booking.com, ISL, and so on. These hire English speakers because they work with different international markets, and therefore Dutch is not mandatory. But whether it is recommended to speak Dutch, then surely the answer is yes, because that will improve your chances of finding a job afterwards. Some employers do ask at least a minimum level of Dutch in order for you to be eligible for their positions, whereas others don't care about the Dutch level because, again, they work a lot with international markets for which English is sufficient. But maybe for a master's student, it's a bit more difficult to learn Dutch in just 1 year. But for a bachelor's student, you're going to spend 3 years here and you can take these free language classes. So then surely, even for your social interaction and just maybe your social integration, better said, it is recommended to speak Dutch, but not mandatory. Okay, so a student who is interested in doing an economics bachelor's degree, but he or she already received a bachelor's degree that is not connected to economics. The student is asking if the status and procedure of acceptance for second degree students is the same. Yes, it's the same. So you'll have to submit your application just as any regular graduate from high school, and of course that it's recommended to mention your existing bachelor's degree, but that's not going to influence your eligibility nor the application or admission process. 17 years old who's looking to study electrical engineering. Well, we do not offer engineering programs at Tilburg University, I'm afraid. The only technical programs that we offer are in the fields of data science and artificial intelligence. However, there are lots of very good universities in the Netherlands that do offer engineering programs. And just at the top of my mind, Eindhoven University of Technology, Delft University, or Twente University. These are excellent technical universities. So you can check their offer, and I'm sure that there's something that would be in your interest there. Somebody who would like to study their program partly online. This is not something that we can guarantee at this point. What we do know is that this year, most of our programs were taught online. However, as of next year, we are going to opt for offline education if that's possible. So at least a hybrid model is something that we have in mind at this point, because this is what is possible. However, if the restrictions will be lifted and if students will be able to go back to class, then we will focus on offline education. So I cannot guarantee you at this moment that a fully taught online degree will be possible. About the living costs in the Netherlands, I can reiterate some of the information. So the main cost that you will pay will be accommodation. And this is why the further away that you go from Amsterdam, the cheaper life will become, just because a great deal of your budget will be spent on accommodation. So as a regular student, you can count on somewhere for around 400 euros to maybe 700 euros for accommodation. You can find cheaper rooms than that. You can find more expensive apartments than that, but that would be the main cost. And then again, about 300 euros for food. And on average, with about 1,000 euros per month, students have a decent life in Tilburg. Of course, that if you decide to travel to Amsterdam every week or go to Paris every month, this budget will increase. But for a regular lifestyle, around 1,000 euros is more than enough in Tilburg. Somebody's asking if Mathematica Informatica is enough for the high math requirement. Yes, it is. And just needless to mention that I am aware that Greek students are also present in this webinar. So if you have questions about your eligibility, please post them in the chat. I cannot pronounce the Greek diploma, but I am sure that I can copy paste it for you in the chat. For those who did their bachelor's degree in English, do we still need an English proficiency test? Most likely, yes. There are only a couple of exceptions for English proficiency test, namely either for those who are nationals, are native speakers in English, or for those who graduated their bachelor's degree in English in a native English speaking country. What I would advise you nevertheless is to submit an application without the proficiency test. And then the admission officer will let you know whether your level of English is sufficient, and you will have until 31st of August to submit your test results. But I just want to manage your expectations here that generally English proficiency is not that much of a flexible topic. If you are at the commercial profile, I see a question from Robert here. That's not the type of diploma that's from a theoretical high school in Romania, so I'm afraid that that will not be directly eligible. I mean, Bianca, correct me if I'm wrong, but commercial profiles are not part of theoretical high schools, right? Back home. Yeah. Another question from Dragos, who's asking, for master's programs, how advanced your knowledge of methodology and statistics should be. That depends on the type of program that you are studying. If you're studying any program that has to do with social sciences, or for example, business communication and digital media. So some programs have a statistic component for which you would need statistic background. And in terms of how advanced, if you go to any of these programs web pages at the application and admission, you will see that there is a statistic checklist that you need to submit. And that's how you'll know what type of statistics academic notions you need to have previously studied in order for you to be considered eligible. Maya is saying that at school they did 3 times a week maths, 45 minutes each. Is there enough for the business field? Maya, what would really help is for you to mention the type of diploma that you are studying. And then I'm going to be able to give you a fair assessment in that regard. 3 times a week for business, that sounds like a standard level. At a first sight, it sounds like it would be enough, but of course that I need to know your diploma first in order to give you a fair assessment. Somebody who's at the profile of tourism and alimentation, I'm afraid that this diploma would not be considered directly eligible. If you do want to study at a research university with that diploma, there is let's say one way out of it. Namely, you can either finish 1 year of bachelor's in your own home country, and then that would be considered the foundation years if you pass all the exams in the first year, or you can do 1 year at the University of Applied Sciences, which will also be considered a foundation year, and then you would be eligible to apply to a research university. Robert Pope is asking whether Mathematica Informatica is enough for data science. Yes, that's enough. For the Romanian diploma, Math-Info meets the highest math requirements of Tilburg University. Yes, so regarding what Bianca said about the English proficiency test for master students who finished a degree in English, it is not guaranteed. So this is a one-on-one individual-based assessment that the admission officer will have to do. So the advice is to submit an application without the English proficiency test, mentioning that your education is in English, but we cannot guarantee you in any way that you will be exempt from passing one. So they will let you know whether you need one or not. Somebody's asking, if we have a GMAT test, can we apply for a master in economics field, or do we have to take GRE too? Well, generally, GMAT can be replaced by GRE, but the other way around is not that feasible. You can submit an application, and the admission officer will decide whether they do an exempt for you. So again, it's a matter of one-on-one analysis case. Somebody's asking whether we offer any bachelor's degree based on criminology or forensic psychology. Yes, we do. Within the bachelor's program of psychology, one of the majors is forensics, and it's the only English taught forensics majors offered in the Netherlands by a research university. So that's possible. You can specialize in forensic psychology, and then you can go towards criminology during your master's program, for example. We do not offer a criminology master's program at Tilburg University, but there are other universities that do. Somebody's asking, do I need to get accepted first in Tilburg in order to get a deferred application, therefore apply before the deadline? So I'm not sure whether I understand your question correctly, but if you'd like to defer your admission, so if you are accepted into a September intake and then you actually want to start in September 22, then that is possible if the admission officers and the program agrees. So you would have to submit a request if you get accepted and tell them, you know, I was accepted into the September intake, but I would like to start next year. That's what I understand by deferral, but please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Is the Greek high school diploma, Stefanos is asking, enough to prove your mathematics qualification and get accepted into the economics bachelor? So I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to tell you what the diploma is, or I'm going to try. It's called Apolitirio, if I'm not mistaken. And then you would need you need to take mathematics as part of your final exam. So please don't get me wrong, and I'm going to post in the chat, which I just did right now, the type of certificate that you need in order to be considered eligible for economics. And the same rule applies if you want to study business as well. So that applies to the Greek diploma. Let me see, where was I? Okay. In terms of accommodation options, so the university will not guarantee your accommodation, but there is an a housing officer in place that can help you with looking for accommodation. And I'm going to repeat the main options that you have. So you can either stay in one of the dorms. There are several dorms around Tilburg where you can live, but the places are limited. The number of rooms is limited. So therefore you will need to start looking for accommodation and look into your options in time. And the second option is just to live on the private market in one of the student houses or just regular apartments. Andrea Popescu is asking, is there absolutely no chance of obtaining a classical law bachelor's degree in English? Well, global law is a classical law degree, but it's not focused only on Dutch law. So when you talk about classical degrees, I'm supposing that you mean qualifying degrees, so LLBs. There are two types of law degrees in this world. You have either qualifying law degrees, those are the LLBs, which include core traditional law classes such as criminal law or constitutional law, tort law, and so on. And you have the general Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts, such as, for example, just simply international law. So classical law degrees are called LLBs, which means Bachelors in Laws. It so happens that global law looks at different legal systems, which is generally the German one, the British one, the French one, and the American one as well, and the Dutch one too. So these 4 ones or 5 are the main law field that you will look into. So this is the closest that you will get to a classical law degree. In case you want to study Dutch law, purely Dutch law, then you will need to study, to learn Dutch and start in year 1 with a good level of Dutch. Is it possible to do a parallel study, studying in university in the Netherlands while you're studying in another university at the same time? No, I would say that this is not realistic. It's a full-time job really, and lots of classes have mandatory attendance. So unless you're a superhuman that can be in 2 places at the same time, I would not recommend this option. And I think it's close to impossible actually. Because of the mandatory attendance and because you need to pay attention in class. So the educational model of Tilburg University is not a theoretical one per se. So it's not like you're going to go to classes, take notes, and then pass the exam. That's not how it works. Before class, you need to prepare for the class. So you will know in advance the type of topics that you will be discussing during a class. And then you have to prepare for that. During the class, you need to actively participate. And after the class itself, you're probably going to need to work on your own, either on all sorts of papers, research papers, maybe business presentations. It's really depending on the type of program that you're studying. So I don't think that's feasible. Is there an application fee that we need to pay? No, the application at the university is free of charge. Is there any master in criminal law or criminology in English? Not at Tilburg University, but if you talk to our colleagues from EDMUNDO, I'm sure that they can recommend you other universities that might offer that. How can we apply for a PhD with fully funded scholarship in university? You can go to our vacancies website. So PhD students that apply for a full scholarship from Tilburg University are treated as employees. So you can just Google postgraduate programs at Tilburg University. Of course, it depends a lot on what your educational background is, and you'll find your options there. What is a bachelor's program, Roberta is asking, that you would recommend for someone who wants to reach an entrepreneurial specialization? We actually have a brand new, well, it's not really new, but it's the fresh program of Tilburg University, which is called Entrepreneurship and Business Innovation. It's a business program, but it's focused on entrepreneurship. So there's a difference when you study finance in international business administration compared to when you study finance in entrepreneurship, because it will have this entrepreneurial focus. And it's also one of the few programs that we offer at Tilburg University for which you can have a dual career. So you can already start working on your business. There are innovation incubators and the entrepreneurship centers that are in place to help students already practice their skills during their study. So you can go for a dual perspective there. So yeah, that's what I would recommend you.
Anka, I'm sorry to interrupt you. My colleagues have let us know that we need to start preparing for the next webinar. I know there's been a lot of questions, and thank you everybody for that. And a lot of interesting questions and very specialized. And thank you, Anka, for taking the time to respond to as many as possible. In case anybody has questions that we couldn't manage to answer during the time, please contact your EDMUNDO counselor, and they will try to get all the information by you as soon as possible. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Anka, for the really, really useful and insightful presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And yeah, if you have questions in the future, you can always contact either us or EDMUNDO, and because I'm sure that there are unclarities there or just questions that you want to find the answer to, but there are mechanisms in place to help you with that.
Yes. Thank you so much. Everybody have a lovely day.
Yeah.
And we'll be in touch. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.